Okay, for lesson 7, we're going to start talking about analogies. So remember that an analogy is a type of figurative language, and remember figurative language does not actually mean what it says, right? So an analogy compares two different things to help you to understand what they're talking about a little bit better, okay? So it's comparing two things that are different to help you understand the text better, or to make it more vivid or clear for the reader. So similes and metaphors both compare two things that are not alike, but a simile uses like or as, and a metaphor does not. So remember, the word simile has an L in it. So like if you look right here, the word simile, right, has an L in it. And that's how I remember that it uses the words like or as. So a simile would be, my cat is as dumb as a doornail, right? So it's using the word as in there. But I could use a metaphor that says my cat is a whale. So I'm not really saying that my cat is a whale, or that he's a doornail, but I am saying I'm comparing it so that you understand that, like, when I say my cat is a whale, you're understanding that I'm saying my cat is really fat, right? So it just really puts that vivid picture in your mind, which is called imagery. So imagery appeals to the reader's senses, right? So your emotions and senses. So I could say something like, the ivory snow is a blanket on the ground. And this is also a metaphor. So you'll see that it shows that that image of a blanket, like a covering the ground, right? And I can actually see that in my mind. So you can see with this little diagram here how analogies, similes, and metaphors are kind of related. They all compare two things. An analogy is a type of argument. It's more complicated and lengthy, and it points out similarities between two things. A simile uses the words like or as. He is as hungry as a horse, whereas a metaphor directly states the comparison, time is a thief. But you'll see that the simile and the metaphor overlap. They're both a figure of speech, and they're both a type of an analogy. So remember that. Similes and metaphors are analogies, okay? We're going to watch a short video on similes and metaphors right here. So let's go ahead and watch that.
Similes and metaphors are similar, but nothing more than a comparison in different ways. Similes is like a rising metaphors, they none of that. They just say exactly what they wanna say. You really are the apple of my eye. Simile. Hanging with you is as easy as pie. You got a smile that lights up the room. Simile. Let's stay together like the stars and the moon. Similes and metaphors are similar, but nothing more than a comparison in different ways. Similes is like a rising metaphors, they've none of that. They just say exactly what they wanna say. Sometimes you're hot and sometimes you're cold. Then again, you can be good as gold. Into each life a little rain must fall. Don't just hit that like a bump on the road. Similes and metaphors are similar, but nothing more than a comparison in different ways. Similes use like a rising metaphors, they none of that. They just say exactly what they wanna say. Oh yeah. Don't you know that'll be music to my ears? That's another metaphor. Yeah, now you get it. While similes and metaphors are similar, but nothing more. Similes and metaphors are similar, but nothing more. Similes and metaphors are similar, but nothing more. Similes and metaphors are similar, but nothing more.
Remember that an analogy is a type of figurative language and it compares two unlike things to help you understand what the author is trying to say. Okay, so an analogy expands more by showing a connection between those things, right, that are not alike. So a simile or a metaphor, both of those are types of analogies. Okay, um, so an example here is that's as useful as rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. So it looks like you're doing something helpful, right, by rearranging these deck chairs on the Titanic, but you're really not, because it's not going to make any difference because the Titanic is sinking, right? So rearranging chairs on the Titanic is going to do nothing. So basically, that would be you, if you said, if you told someone, you know what, that's as useful as rearranging deck chairs on a Titanic, you're telling that person that whatever they're doing, it looks like they're being helpful, but really they're not, right? It's not going to make any difference. So let's go ahead and watch a short video on analogies now.
People often establish relationships between people, animals, or things to better understand them. When an idea is difficult to understand, your mind creates an analogy between what is confusing and what is understandable to help you better comprehend the idea. An analogy is simply a comparison of two or more people, places, objects, animals, or ideas. Analogies show how words are related. They compare two things and use familiar words to identify unfamiliar or missing words. To understand an analogy, you must first identify the relationship between two words. Some types of word relationships include synonyms, antonyms, part of a whole, cause and effect, an item in a category. What is the relationship between the words mad and angry? These two words are synonyms because they have similar meanings. What is the relationship between the words asleep and awake? They are antonyms because asleep is the opposite of awake. What is the relationship between a wheel and a bicycle? This is a part of a whole relationship because a wheel is part of a bicycle. What is the relationship between heating and melting? Heating something can cause it to melt. For example, heating an ice pop will cause it to melt because the heating occurred first. It is the cause, while melting is the effect. This is a cause and effect relationship. How are cake and dessert related? Cake is a type of dessert. This is an item in a category relationship. Analogies can be written in word form, but they are usually separated by colons. In this example, the words fish and ocean are being compared, so they are separated by a space, a colon, and another space. Deer and forest are being compared the same way. When one set of words is compared to another set of words, the two sets are separated by two colons. The proper way to read this analogy is fish is to ocean as deer is to forest. When you're interpreting analogies, ask yourself, how are these words related? For example, a part of a whole relationship is when one object is part of another or part of a whole. Think of it like a piece of a puzzle. The jigsaw piece is the part, and the entire puzzle is the whole. Consider these objects: roof, door, and windows. Remember to ask yourself, how are these words related? These are all parts of a house. Therefore, roof, door, and windows are the parts, and house is the whole. Which word completes the part of a whole relationship in this example? Tree, foot, or dog? A tail is not part of a tree, nor is it part of a foot. The correct answer is dog, because a tail is part of a dog. What word completes this analogy? Peel is to banana as blank is to flower. Is the correct answer choice stem, rose, or wilt? Identify the relationship between the first set of words. A peel is a part of a banana. A rose is not part of a flower. It is a type of flower. Wilt is not correct because it is an action performed by a flower. The correct answer is stem because a stem is part of a flower. The analogy now reads peel is to banana as stem is to flower. Again, an analogy can also have a cause and effect relationship. A cause is why something happened. To identify a cause, ask yourself, what happened first? An effect is what happened. To identify an effect, ask yourself, what happened second? Identify the cause and effect relationship between the words exercise and sweat. Ask the question, what happened first? Exercise happened first, so it is the cause. Sweat is usually the result of exercise, therefore, it is the effect. Which analogy choice has the same relationship as the words hunger and eat? Hunger is to eat as up is to down. Child is to kid, or tired is to sleep. This is a cause and effect relationship because hunger causes someone to eat. Up and down are opposites or antonyms, so this is not the correct choice. A child and a kid are similar, which means they are synonyms, not a cause and effect. Tired and sleep is the choice that shows a cause and effect relationship. You know this because being tired can cause someone to sleep. The analogy would therefore read hunger is to eat as tired is to sleep. An analogy can also have an item and a category relationship. This shows a relationship between a category and something in that category. One way to recognize an item in a category relationship is to identify when one object is a type of something else. For example, chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry are all items. The category is ice cream flavors. Ice cream flavors and the three types of flavors have an item and a category relationship. Which word completes the item in a category analogy? Elephant is to blank. Is it trunk, mammal, or gray? A trunk is a part of an elephant, and gray describes an elephant's skin. The correct answer is mammal because an elephant is a type of mammal. Elephant is the item, and mammal is the category. Which answer choice completes this set of analogies? Carrot is to vegetable as blank is to blank. Remember to begin by identifying the relationship between the first two words. A carrot is a type of vegetable. A screen is part of a computer. Friends and enemies are antonyms. The correct answer is ballet and dance because ballet is a type of dance. This item in a category analogy should read carrot is to vegetable as ballet is to dance. Analogies are word puzzles that challenge you to examine relationships between words. Once you determine the type of analogy, you can complete the analogy by identifying the choices that fall under that type.
Okay, so you can see now how analogies, similes, and metaphors are related.